My name's William Bonshue, and I am fired up to join with all of you today to take back our democracy. As many of you know, I had the honor and privilege a few years back of working as a legislative director for a member of Congress. And in that role, I gained unique insight into the inner workings of the greatest self-governing democracy in human history. And as such, folks, I'm terrified. I'm terrified of the lasting and mortal damage that the Republican Party is doing to our democratic institutions on behalf of a vindictive, self-enriching, two-bit carnival barker bigot named Donald Trump.
That's right.
About a year ago, I was given another distinct honor, and that was to stand on this stage and talk to all of you about those fears. I held up this textbook, How Democracies Die. And I painted a pretty scary picture of the danger, the mortal danger our democracy was in at the hands of the first demagogue president of the United States and a party, a Republican Party, too selfish to stand up to his abuses of power and too feckless to even attempt to govern responsibly around him. Now, I know it was a pretty scary picture because a lot of y'all came up to me over the last year and told me so. You told me you didn't want to believe it because it can't happen here, right? Well, here we are a year later. A year where a sitting U.S. president has lied more than 24 times a day and attacked our judicial system and our Department of Justice almost as frequently. A year where massive legislation was rammed through Congress without a whiff of public debate or regular order. And the Supreme Court was stacked with a wholly unqualified candidate nominee with unprecedented unpopularity amongst the American people. A year when Donald Trump and his GOP have praised dictators and shielded a terrorist regime from culpability of murdering a U.S. citizen journalist.
That's right.
A year when children, babies, were stolen from their parents at the border and locked into cages by an administration that paid for those cages by stealing cancer research funding from the NIH.
That's right.
A year where a sitting U.S. president blatantly and repeatedly attacked the U.S. Constitution, starting first with the First Amendment by labeling the free press the enemy of the American people, and moving on more recently to the 14th Amendment, labeling people like my amazing wife, who's done more in 4 years for the people of North County, San Diego at Tri-City Medical Center than Darrell Issa has in 18 in Congress, labeling people like my wife as non-Americans. Folks, I think we can agree that it's a pretty scary picture. The only thing scarier is what that picture will look like a year from now if the Republican Party is allowed to stay in control today.
That's right.
This textbook will become a guidebook to a future of minority autocratic rule through gerrymandering, voter suppression, court stacking, and state media. Okay, before I get accused of being a Republican with all this doom and gloom, I'm going to give you the good news. And the good news is awesome. The good news is right here. The good news is all of you. Folks, rare is the generation called upon to be literal patriots for the Republic, and you all have all answered that call. With every door knocked, with every phone call made, with every bit of data entered, with every banner dropped, with every text message sent, you've answered that call. And Mike Levin's answered that call by becoming the best candidate for any office at any level he could have possibly imagined. And he will be the best representative this district could have ever imagined. If we're all willing to answer that call one more time. Folks, everybody here knows someone or someones that might not vote or isn't really excited to vote. You got to go find them today. You got to have hard conversations with them about the critical importance of this election, not just for their future, but the future of democracy itself. And then when you're done having those conversations, you go walk a turf and you find some other folks, strangers, and have some more hard conversations. They're hard. I know, trust me. I used to do it for a living. But I think if there's one thing that we've gained appreciation for over the last 2 years, it's that democracy itself is hard. It's hard. Abraham Lincoln called it the last best hope, and George Washington called it the grand experiment for a reason. It's hard. But I know the other thing that we've come to appreciate over the last 2 years is that democracy is worth it. So let's get out there and take it back. Thank you.
Take it back.